Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the GuideTech Podcast. Today, we're going to be doing episode number 16. I'm your host, Garrett Shackelford, and I'm joined by co-host Logan Meaux, CEO and founder of Mallard Bay, and Hunter Runge, owner and operator of Whiskey Slews Outfitters. Hunter, I got your name right at the intro that time.
I'm so proud of you, man.
Well, cool. Well, sweet. Today we're going to be covering a couple of different topics. Usually we've been talking a lot about business strategy or operational strategy within running an outfitter or fishing charter. Today we're going to be talking about more in the field tactics, things that are going to help increase your rebook rate, have clients that are happy, and decrease bad reviews for your business. We're going to be covering topics like comfort in the blind, going the extra mile for your clients, and then making the most out of a challenging hunt. So, Hunter, I don't know. There's someone that might be new to the podcast, might not know exactly who you are. I think it would be good for you to give them a little bit of a background again on exactly who you are. So when you're answering these, they know, hey, I could trust this guy. This guy knows what he's talking
Yeah. So for anybody new, anybody just starting to get here, my name's Hunter. I am the part owner. I'm the CEO and CFO of Whiskey Slews, and we do outfitting here in central Nebraska. We run from September till the end of May doing waterfowl, pheasants, turkeys, and we run a pretty full operation here. And we haven't been, in the field as long as others, but we've had a tremendous success rate in the rebooking world and a tremendous review rate. We seemingly seem to get a lot of good feedback from our clients, and we have found a few things that have really worked and that we've been able to share kind of with Garrett and Logan and the Mallard Bay team, and it's kind of why I've been invited to come on this podcast, is to be able to help anybody who's looking to get that extra step, that extra mile, to kind of make that leap.
Yeah, and I would even say that I've had the opportunity to get to hunt with Hunter and his team with their clients being there while filming, and I'll say every hunt was perfect, right, Hunter? It all went as planned. Everything.
I'd say the hunt went. I'd say the plan worked. Birds don't always do what they're supposed to, but
Right,
that's why you
exactly.
think on your feet, though. You have to be mobile. You have to be able to adapt and overcome when you get in those kind of situations, because they're wild animals. You can't just make them land. You can't just make the wind start blowing. You can't just make the sun go away.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, also too, you have, a wide variety of guests that come and hunt with you. Some young, some old, and everything in between, and some with different abilities and capabilities that others don't, depending on their age or whatever may have arise for them. But one thing that y'all have is a awesome, blind, and like you make sure the blinds are comfortable for your clients. One, you have an infamous Platte River blind, right? Of course, that one's awesome. But then there's also blinds that you're having to be mobile with. You have your pit blinds as well. But I want to get into some key strategies and making sure that the clients are just comfortable to begin with. Before we get into, the hunt sucks or the birds aren't working and, that going the extra mile, how do you make sure your clients are going to be comfortable when hunting with Whiskey Slews?
Biggest thing you got to do in this industry is you got to be different. Obviously, everybody hunts out of a layup blind or an A-frame or a pit blind or whatever. It's not necessarily, build a nice blind. That's step one, which we do. That we like to have nice blinds. But I think the big thing there too is for us getting in and out of the field too. You have a pit blind in the middle of the cornfield. That's great and all. But if your guys got to park and then walk 400 yards to get to your pit blind, what if they're old? Whatever. That's why almost every single hunt we go on that we are able to, that we can either drive a truck or we'll bring our side-by-side, our Polaris with us. And we make sure that unless literally they absolutely have to, because of mud, whatever, got to cross water, whatever, that they do not have to walk to get to and from those blinds. And then when they get there, we always like to have the blinds obviously already set up. You have your chairs all lined up, have all your gun rests set up, you have everything positioned. And then when the clients get there, you have everything. You say, hey, okay, you guys can just file in, get you all set up. We don't like to overcrowd blinds. And then even step that back, we don't like to hunt more than 8 guys in one group. It's not about shoving them in a sardine can. That's just not what we're about up here. We don't do that kind of stuff. And having that spatial awareness and having that space in your blind, and running 4 A-frames for 10 guys, Obviously, it's a little more work for us to put up 4 A-frames, but when each blind's got when each 4-man blind's got 3 people in it, and you're able to have a lot of space and a lot of distance to swing while you're shooting and all of that, it's just going to make that just one step more comfortable. Now, on top of that, what we do is, like, obviously you grass your blinds, right? You want to have your top cover. You want to make sure your clients, you're not trying to pie face these birds, right? But your clients, the experiences they're there to see, they're there to view. They want to watch this. I mean, they want to watch these birds work.
Right.
And so what we go do is we take every single client, as soon as they get set up, they sit down on their A-frame or their pit blind or whatever, mainly A-frames especially. On the plat, we do it too a little bit, but we'll say, hey, I'm going to part this grass just a little bit here. Can you see enough of the view to see what's going on? Yes, I can. And then we say, okay, now when the birds are coming in, tuck your face behind half the grass and watch through your peephole. And like, we make these little pockets so that we make them just small enough to where clients can see, but not big enough to flare birds. And like, I don't know, for us, that's just like one extra step. And it's always about making, that one little thing that might not be the whole shebang for the hunt or the whole reason that you get a great review and great feedback, but it's just one more step up the staircase to.
I've never heard of anybody doing that. That's awesome.
Me neither. I think that's a great point, and I don't think someone should overlook that. There's been so many times where I've sat in blinds with outfitters where they're yelling at clients to keep their face down. One, they just like to blame the client because it's the easiest target, I think, to blame is, hey, you're showing your face or whatever. But at least you're going the extra mile because clients are going to do that. Like, prepare beforehand that they're going to do that because, of course, they want to see the birds work. They want to see that what you're doing. They paid for that. So prepare and make sure that they have a way to do that where it isn't going to flare the birds, where it is an excuse. So I think that's awesome. I think y'all do a lot of other things that I want to touch on that goes the extra mile and provides comfort. Also, before we go over it, providing that space for people, it's space, it's more swinging room, but it's also safety too. Like, you're creating a safer environment for your clients when they aren't packed in like sardines. So I commend you on that as well. Some places you do have to smash them in. You can't run a huge line of A-frames, but I think y'all do go the extra mile for that, and it's important. But in your pit blind especially, and then when y'all are in A-frames, y'all go the extra mile and make sure people have hot food when they're in the blind. And I don't think everyone does that.
I should step back and say the truth. We don't always cook in the blinds. When we're hunting out of our big blind in the Platte River and our slough blind on the Platte River, mainly on the Platte River, it's the third day, usually the third hunt of the trip, the last hunt.
Okay.
We got a Blackstone, 28-inch Blackstone in our river blind, and we'll make pancakes or hash or breakfast burritos or whatever to kind of help that experience. We would like to be able to cook a lot more. We just don't. We don't get that. Yeah, it's all really hard to cook for 10 people on a Coleman, on one of them little Colemans, in an A-frame. But we do hope that it's kind of on that concept though, is as we go to grow and build bigger blinds on the Platte and on other river systems and stuff like that, to be able to keep a 28-inch Blackstone in there. I mean, it makes life real simple. And to be honest with you, obviously you can't make the most high-end culinary food and you can't make culinary art on a Blackstone and a river blind, but it just hits different, man. There's just...
Dude, yeah. It's some of my best breakfast I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's like,
you eat it.
It's,
it's 20
so
degrees outside and you're
field.
eating this breakfast burrito, and it's just like, it's like a steak. It's the best thing ever right there. And I can't tell you, I've had a lot of fun. We've been, so many times with serving breakfast, and the mallards come in while you're eating breakfast, and shoot them there, guys. You see all the burritos flying everywhere, and the plates going places because everyone's got it in their lap, right? And like, oh shit, the ducks are coming, trying to throw them. It's just always a fun experience to get to be able to cook like that. Yes. But
I want to put you just a pretty tactical question. Because some of these guys show up unprepared. It's just going to happen. They're flying in, they forget something, they show up with something that you're like, oh my God, like you as the outfitter is like, I cannot believe they forgot that. Now I got to go run to the store, whatever you got to do. How do you handle those situations?
I'll give you my coat before I wear my coat is basically kind of the vibe we have. Like we have kids who come, and the kids, we have a lot of people from Texas who come up, and they're like, I ain't gonna get cold. I'm not gonna get cold.
Yeah.
And we're always like, sure, you're not. And then, one hunt in, maybe two hunts in December, and their hoodie and everything they're wearing is not good enough. And it's like they're starting to get cold. And then what we do is we have a dozen probably coats, jackets, stuff like that. We keep in the lockers at the lodge. And basically, like, we wear them sometimes, but like if anybody needs them, we got them. Obviously, we keep plenty of guns around for gun rentals, anything like that. If someone's gun's not working, obviously we're gonna I give him my gun, or Sam will give him his gun, or whatever. Done that plenty of times. If one of the guns aren't working, shells, obviously, we keep plenty of shells. We offer people to buy shells if they need to. We just try to make sure we have something for if what Murphy's Law, right? If it can go wrong, it will go wrong, and we always like to be prepared for anything to go wrong, so that our clients never have to fret. There doesn't need to be no 9:30 run to Walmart to try to find a coat for the hunt tomorrow morning.
And then one other thing that I think most outfitters probably do this already, but I think it's important for the new outfitter. It's one thing for people to bring clothes and like be geared up, but it gets especially cold out on that Platte River.
You can, yeah.
Like you said, yeah, in December, like yes, and even in November when I've been there and it's been frozen over, and we still killed them. But how do you prepare for different weather conditions and like accommodate that in the blind?
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
We kind of run off. We have a little bit of we play it by ear, but we have a dozen or so buddy heaters, and we'll bring those in the A-frames or whatever. If we don't have big heaters in the pits or the propane, we bring the buddy heaters. And honestly, it comes back to the group. Like, we always just ask them, say, hey, you guys think it's going to be 28 degrees tomorrow morning, high of 40. You think you guys are going to get cold? Do we need heaters? And usually they'll say yes or no. Some groups are like, well, we'll be fine. And honestly, we still kind of play it by ear. Even if they say no, they'll be fine. We sometimes still bring them and just don't set them out because, it's just, and not a way to bash on people. If we get, like I said, a lot of people from the South, they just aren't used to that. And they say they'll be okay. And in reality, they sometimes aren't okay. And so we'd rather you say no, you don't need a heater, and we'll throw a couple in anyways in case y'all need them, and then have them if we need them, than just not have them at all, kind of thing.
So I guess I wanted to talk about just going the extra mile and the concept of that. For outfitters, how would you define what it means to go the extra mile for your clients?
Man, basically, it's the way we run our company, and the reason we've been as successful as we are is we say to control the controllables. If you can control it, that should be the number one aspect of your company. So when we say go the extra mile, for example, and this, obviously, I know we're talking about blinds and stuff, but it's one of the big things that I know. We don't do desserts. We don't provide desserts. We don't do that kind of stuff. We can't provide alcohol, obviously, because we don't have a liquor license, so we don't do alcohol. We have a bad hunt. Maybe it goes slow. Maybe we get, something happens, right? Day wasn't that great. We'll go out and buy a bunch of French silk and apple and whatever pies and have that for dessert or whatever. Like, I remember one client group, we bought the pay-per-view for the UFC fight, bought the pay-per-view for them so they could watch the fights. I mean, stuff like that. And like in the blind though, I mean, going the extra mile is like help them pack up their stuff, help them get their shells all picked up and put in their boxes. When they go to get in your side-by-side to get shuttled out, load their guns for them, put their bags in. And then when you're doing that, do it with respect. Like, ask them, is it okay if your gun sits in this bed? Is it okay if your bag sits here? Treat it all with a bunch of respect. Be very careful. Do never throw anything. Set it down gently. Like, walk and like think through everything you're doing. When you're driving them in the side-by-side, if it's 28 degrees, don't go 30 miles an hour. Do 15. Drive calm. Don't take corners hard. I mean, when you're in the blind, if we're having a slow day, offer waters up and down the blind. We always bring what's called a snack pack. We just bring, it's literally it's an old snow cover bag that we have. We just keep about a half dozen waters, half dozen granola bars, and like some Snickers or something in this bag. And the bag travels. We keep one bag in each work truck, and we just always throw the bag in. And then, you hungry? Y'all need a granola bar? Y'all want a water bottle? You guys want to have a Snickers? Whatever. If the hunt's going slow, pass some waters down. Another thing is a huge thing. Help them in and out of the blind. Help them walk through the terrain. I mean, you're going to have, like you guys said, we have a wide variety of clients. We have kids who are younger than me that have no issue getting around, but we've had up to 96-year-old people in our lodge. And like, that's awesome for us, but help them. Like, be there for them. Like, I can't tell you how many times to go hunt the Platte, we have to cross the Platte to go hunt the Platte. And we've left, hour and a half before we need to make sure we're all there, and we'll bring extra guys out to where, for example, I remember we had a group of 6, bunch of old guys. They couldn't get around very well. So we had all six of us on the payroll, the 4 owners and 2 employees last year, got up at 4:30 in the morning, drove them all out to the Platte, and walked each person. Each person took a person and walked them in, and carried their guns, carried their bags, and was just right next to them the whole way, and make sure if they fell, picked them back up. If they were falling, catch them. Like, just those little bit of that extra mile kind of stuff. I mean, that's what makes the difference. And like, when you're serving them in the breakfast, in the blind, you guys want some hot sauce on your stuff? You guys want salt? You guys want pepper? I got drinks here. Do you guys want, I got sodas. I got some, we keep some Black Rifle, those like little coffee cans in there. It's like we got some coffee. You want some soda? We keep some thermoses with coffee around. I mean, it's tedious. It is. I mean, it's not, I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's cakewalk to be able to do that kind of stuff, but that's the stuff that truly matters.
I mean, I think the fact of you just explaining that you guys embrace control the controllables is one applicable to all business, regardless of, industry. But it is one of those things that people as individuals struggle to do in their personal life, right? And so for you guys to be able to embrace that and understand that, sometimes the clients either think things are in your control and they're not, or they really notice the things that are in your control. And if you mess them up, that makes the client that much more unhappy and likely to not come back or to complain about.
Tell you, we've ran over the last 3 years of doing this, 2.5 years of doing this, we've ran just under 1,100 clients. And I can name 6 or 8 probably on my hand that were the only people that actually complained about just not killing birds. We
I see.
The only reason we nailed everything and they still were complaining just because we couldn't control the birds. 6 or 8 out of 1,100. Every single other client we've had in, if we're not killing birds, they understand. They see that we're doing everything we can, we're controlling everything we can control, and we're still putting on the best experience possible with the conditions or situation at hand. And that's the defining factor.
I want to go deeper on that, especially with the controllables, with almost like taking leadership principles into the blind on the hunt, and walk me through step by step. As soon as you know something ain't right with the birds, the way they're working, what's going on, what is your step by step kind of analysis process of what you decide to do?
Honestly, I'll pull this all from this hunt Garrett was on. Cornfield hunt, you remember it, Garrett, last November.
Yeah.
Birds, it was sunny, it was 60 degrees, and we were trying to hunt mallards in a cornfield because that was the best option we had at that time. And it was a huge feed, 10, 20,000 duck feed. But it was sunny, there was no wind, it was hot, and the birds didn't fly until 10 minutes until shooting light was over. And the very first thing I did, it got 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:30, sunset's 5:15, by the way. 4:30, it's 45 till sunset, we ain't seen a duck yet. The very first thing I do is I step out of the blind, I go over to the clients and I say, look, this is what's going on, here's why it's happening, here's what we're hoping will happen, and just straight up honesty. Look, man, these birds, to even step it up even further, we take videos. Like, if we have a big feed, we take videos of the feed that obviously they're time stamped and it says, this is the feed. And right. I had a video of these birds in this field at 4:30 or 4:20 or something the night before. And I showed them all that video the day before, like at dinner that night, and said, this is the hunt. And I said, just on this hunt, I said, guys, obviously you guys saw in the video, they were here at 4:20. The conditions are roughly the same, although it was partly cloudy yesterday. It's sunny today. That's probably the factor here. There's no wind. There was a little wind yesterday. That's probably what's going on. But these birds, they haven't flown, and I don't know when they're going to fly. And that's step one, admitting to them something's not working. This is not going right. Step 2 would be keep your attitude at the absolute highest as you can keep it at all times. No no pessimism. Don't be pessimistic. Don't be negative. Don't be stubborn. Don't be angry. It's okay to show emotion. Like, it's okay to say, be pissed and be like, these fucking ducks, man, like, this pisses me off. But like, don't just sit there and shit talk the hunt or bash yourself or bash the scout or nothing negative like that. Like I said, it's okay to be, it's okay to be emotional, but like, control it. And like, but keeping that level head and that positive attitude along with that honesty, those are the two big things. That usually, obviously, you're not going to get the most happy reaction from everybody. They're going to be like, yeah, this is not the most ideal thing ever. This kind of sucks, but I get it. Like, I understand it. And then to piggyback off this hunt, they did come finally, and they wouldn't work. They just wouldn't work. They started a feed across the road, and what we could get to work, they wouldn't finish in the hole. And that was the hunt. And we told them, we say, look, this is what happened. Because the wind or because the weather patterns changed, we didn't think it would be this sporadic, but it changed their pattern. And now they want to feed in the field across the road. And we got to watch 20,000 mallards landing in the field across the road, 2 minutes till shooting light. And like I said, not the most ideal hunt, not the most ideal situation, but honesty and respect and the positive attitude, it carried that whole thing. And we went back to to the lodge for dinner and all of that. Like I said, the mood wasn't like we weren't 10-man limited greenheads happy, but there was no negativity, there was no bitching, there was no arguing. It was just acceptance, basically, and positivity.
Just to piggyback off that story too, I think Hunter and his team did, during that hunt, one, they were engaging their clients during it when it was slow. They weren't just sitting there by themselves over in the corner of their blind, hiding from their clients. They were up talking to them. It wasn't just Hunter. It was Sam also up talking, and the owners split up and were at different A-frames talking with these guys, just having conversations with them. But then after that, we went to the lodge, had dinner. Everyone was happy. No one was upset. They all understood. Hunter explained what had happened. They were all hunters too, and they got that. But then the next day, Hunter's team absolutely turned it around. Yeah. Because they said, shoot, like, that didn't work out, so we're going to make it work the next day. And we went to that warm water slough and absolutely smacked.
I don't know. What did they?
The hell
didn't they shoot? They shoot their 8-man that day. I thought they shot it or got real close to it.
They shot it. There were some guys that were being like, where they claim their birds and then they're done shooting, and it's like, did you actually shoot your birds? Yeah. They just were the immediate claimers of them. And the group was older. The group was much older that we were with. I mean, there was 2 that were pretty sharp shooters. The other ones were quite a bit older. And so it took a little bit longer to chip away, but yeah, the 8-man probably could have been done in 30 minutes, but I think we ended up taking 2 hours just for those gentlemen to be able to take their time and take their shots that they needed. But y'all responded in an awesome way.
The kickback.
It was an awesome turnaround.
Which
for sure.
That's exactly what we like to do, though. I mean, like, the way you said it draws it up perfectly. You're gonna fall down, right? It's important just to get right back up and get moving.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, y'all answered. It was good.
This is just something that was on the top of my mind because I think I've experienced in the past. Do you feel like layout blinds affect the camaraderie that happens on a guided hunt?
Layout blinds are not taken positively a lot of times. Most guys don't like layout blinds, and unfortunately we do have to hunt them sometimes, and they do, but they don't. Usually, like, in an A-frame, obviously everybody can talk to each other a lot easier and whatnot, and you can all have that camaraderie. But usually when it's slow time, what I normally do is I just walk in front of all the layout blinds and talk to them all the same as if they were in an A-frame, and usually the guys got their doors open and they're all just kind of looking. For conversation-wise and like that camaraderie sense, I wouldn't say it's a huge factor, but I will say it does limit it.
I think that's an excellent point. Even on hunts with other outfitters, I don't know if I've ever laid in A-frames with you unless it was like just me and Nick with the owners hunting and layouts. But I will say, yeah, even with the doors open, it's kind of weird because the doors open up so tall, it blocks your head sometimes, where you can like turn and talk to that other person. And then as a cameraman, I'll tell you, I absolutely hate them. It's so difficult to shoot out of a layout blind. I absolutely hate it. But no, that group specifically, like, for sure, y'all knocked it out of the park on like responding and taking action and giving them a hunt that they like truly enjoyed and will remember. And I think like a couple of those guys had booked last year, they were repeat clients, and then booked again for the next year after that experience that y'all had given them.
Yes, that's correct. So two of the guys, they were both from the year before. They booked for this year, or booked for last year, then they booked again. The other group was a newer group, and I haven't talked to them, but no clue on that one.
Well, they were an older crowd of people.
Yeah.
I think they were like buddies that travel together and go to different outfitters every year, and they were.
I think
but
yeah.
But yeah. I was going to ask you, what common mistakes do new guides make that negatively impact their client's experience that you think?
You know what I see a lot of people do? I see a lot of people get too cocky and overhype the hunt before it actually happens. I know this because I've done it, and it's not gone well for me. Like, first year, bang your duck feed, right? You're telling the guys, you're like, got 20,000 mallards in this feed. We're going to go fucking tear them up, you know? Then you go out the next day and we have what happened with us, Garrett, right? Wind don't work, sun stays out, birds don't work.
Yeah.
You don't kill much. And then all of a sudden they're like, you gave us all these expectations and then this happened. And like, that's why when we talk about hunts, like, yeah, we take videos of feeds to show clients. We don't always show them. In fact, we do, you know, actually probably more rarely than anything. My favorite line ever, Grant Edgecombe gave it to me. He goes, I got something lined up. That's what you say. You know, that's all we say. We say, we got something lined up. We're hunting ducks. We got something lined up. And if they ask how many birds are in the field, we say, yeah, well, maybe 10,000. And then they go, oh, it's going to be a barn burner. And we say, yeah, we hope so, but that we do have prevailing wind conditions, or we have this problem. But just like, don't walk around like you're the shit if you can't back it up, basically. Because like we came into it overhyping hunts, not necessarily being cocky, but being overly confident in hunts. That was the very first. And it only lasted for a little bit of teal dove and a little bit of duck season before we learned real fast that you just can't do that, because something will go awry. One thing changes, the birds switch flight lines, and next thing you know, you're just looking like an idiot.
Right. Well, imagine if you hype up, you know, I know you guys hunt on the Platte in the third day. It's kind of your most consistent spot. Mm-hmm. But if you start on the first day, you know, maybe it's a little bit tougher and you start hyping up that last day and then something goes wrong with the weather conditions, then all of a sudden they're even more pissed. Like,
precisely.
They just, I didn't even think about it as them being cocky. I think the number one thing that I've seen guides make mistake is when they let their attitude, you know, rub off on the clients.
That's right there with it. Yeah. If you're going to be pissy and upset and in a bad mood and yelling and whatever, no one's going to have a good time.
Yeah. Go to the truck, right? I mean, you got to get out of there. You can't.
Exactly. I mean, there is just no room for it, because at the end of the day, those guys paid, you know, $2,000-$3,000 to come sit in this blind. They don't want their experience ruined because you're having a bad day. Just because you get to go on another 50 hunts, they don't. Mm-hmm. That's right. The big thing we have to look at is, you might, you know, for us, for example, might have a hunt where we only kill 20 ducks, right? It's out of my memory book, gone forever, right? But for that one group of clients, maybe one thing happened on that hunt, they are going to hold on to that forever. Or even like if you shoot a big limit, a big stack of birds and get a big limit, right? You know, for us, that's just another day in the books, right? But it's important to not act like it's just another day in the books, because it's not. For those guys, that's going to be a core memory that they'll hold on to forever. And along with your attitude, hype them up. If we have a banger hunt, don't just be like, yeah, that was all right, could have been faster or whatever, right? Act like you just won the damn Super Bowl with them. Celebrate. Like, if we shoot a big limit, I'm not getting hammered, but I'm having drinks with the clients that night. Like, we're going to go back and we're having drinks. Like, that's how that goes. And every single time we do it, we're having drinks. And it's like that kind of camaraderie and that attitude, all of that positivity, and it just shows that you care. And that's again, back to the main thing, is that's what matters the most.
I've got a great question. I think you're going to like this one. How do you deal with the type of clients that are negative and chirp, and, you know, they chirp at the guide, like, you know, the things that really, when you get into it, you're like, oof, I'm at the point where I'm holding my tongue, and they're affecting the other client's experience what do you do?
A lot of times you got to just take it on the chin. You just have to keep your attitude positive and deal with it. But it also, this is very limited. Like, you cannot do this with every client group. But if you read the group, sometimes chirp them back, like in a respectful way, though.
He might just be that type of guy that likes to talk
shit.
Yeah,
you'll pick up on that. You'll pick up on, like, we've had some guys. We had this one group of guys. We were hunting on the Platte, and as you know, Garrett, there's another group of guys that has a river blind. The only other blind on our Platte that's like, a couple miles away from us, and they were doing a little more shooting than we were that day. And one of these guys goes, "Oh, looks like they got a better guide down there." And I said, put them waders on and get your ass walking then. Have fun. And he just laughed with me. Like, we just laughed together about it. Like, he was just like, yeah, he's like, that's fucking funny. That's hilarious. And that kind of stuff's all right. It just depends. Like, are they chirping you to chirp? Cause like, are they chirping you just to joke around and give you shit? Because that's great. I love doing that. I'll hop right in on that. Yeah. Or are they actually chirping cause they're pissed? And that's what you got to distinguish, which is like I said, that's why most of the time you just got to take it on the chin, be respectful. If they're causing a scene, I'll be straight up. I'll be like, I'm like on a more serious side. If they're causing a scene, I'll look down the blind. I'll say, all right, man, if you're going to keep talking like that, I'm sending you to the truck. Like, there's no place for this in my blind. Or I'll go down and I'll pull them aside. I'll say, hey, look, I'm sorry you're not having a great time, but you're not the only one that paid to be here. So I'm going to need you to be better and treat us with respect and these guys with respect, or we're going to have an issue. And we go one warning, then you're gone. That's basically how we go. We'll say, look, we got it. Here's the issue. Here's the problem. Solve it, or you're gone. Never had to kick someone out. So
I think going off that, and it might be the same answer, but what about when you have clients that are there and they have someone who's not being safe around them and it's making you uncomfortable or other people uncomfortable around them?
Very much the same thing. What we do, like, safety obviously is huge. You do a whole episode on safety, man, but being around guns all the time. But like, if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, like anytime anybody's out in front of the decoys, we always say rack them. Pull your shell back, stick it out the side, shut it in the chamber so your gun is 100% unloaded. Guys aren't doing that, I'll tell them, I say, put your shell in your chamber, I'm going to take your gun. Put your shell on the side of your gun, or I'm going to come take it the next time. Because we don't, with safety and stuff like that, there's zero tolerance. Because I'm not going to die because you're too lazy to pull a shell out of your gun, type of thing. But like, it's one warning system with that too. Hey man, here's the problem, I need you to solve it. Usually we try to do it privately. The first time's usually privately. Just pull them aside, even just kind of whisper to them, in the blind or whatever. You're pointing this gun everywhere. This is not okay. You're not shooting your lane. That's also not okay. You're blowing this guy's ears out. That's not okay, or whatever is going on. If you do it again, I'm taking your gun and you're going to the truck. And same thing with that. Never had to kick anybody out.
One random one. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with it, but I have personally experienced it in my days of traveling and being with outfitters. But how about drinking in the field? And I don't mean just like having a single drink. I'm sure y'all aren't cool with that, but people showing up to the blind still cooked from the night before.
We have a very finite set of rules here. You can't have any alcohol within, I think it's 8 hours of the trip starting, of the hunting starting. You can never drink in our blinds. Any hunt, dove hunting, all the way to goose hunting, snow goose, you will never be allowed to bring any sort of alcohol into our blind. And if I smell beer on you, or if I smell whiskey on you, I'm taking your gun and you're not hunting. We take that pretty seriously. Even though it's legal to drink while you hunt in the state of Nebraska, we do not condone that, or we do not. It is. You are allowed to. You can literally be hammered and hunt in Nebraska legally, as far as I know, from what the game warden and I have talked about, and the laws in the state of Nebraska. You hunt drunk, which, granted, that will never happen, and that will never happen with us. Yeah, that will never happen. That never does happen. We don't do that. But it's honestly, drinking goes right there with safety, because drinking's how safety can go out the window. We take that just to see.
Have y'all ever had to deal with that?
We have. We've had, that was the only time we've kicked people out of hunts, is we've had people sneak beers in coolers. We had people go dove hunting first year. They went dove hunting and they brought a bunch of beer in their coolers that were for waters, and they was trying to discreet about it, but we caught them ended the hunt right then and there. They were pissed. They were not happy about it, but it's like, it's our rules, man. You got to play by.
Yeah, I feel like dove hunting's like that
Oh
one
yeah.
experience where like it's almost marketed that you can come drink and shoot doves, especially in West Texas.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like hyped up. Like this is a part of the experience.
Yeah,
Well,
which
dove
is
hunting,
exactly. Go ahead, Logan.
it's almost like dove hunting is one of the already most unsafe, nonchalant
Yeah.
type of hunting where mistakes can happen because, whether you're walking the line or you've got people on different sides of the field, you got people going pick up birds, like it gets pretty hectic.
Dove and teal together. I've had more pellets hit me in the month of September than I have in any other month of my entire life by a long shot. I've been shot before dove hunting, not by clients. This all happened just like public land and stuff like that. Never with clients. It's not the most safe. It's not the most safe. And then on top of that, you add alcohol to the whole thing, and it's just like, man, it don't mix well. And for us, but Garrett, why you said that about West Texas is exactly why those guys were so pissed, is because they were from Texas. And they were like, well, down in Texas, we do this. And it was like, well, sir, go back to Texas then. Like, but yeah, no, it's almost like a culture down there. Even in Oklahoma, hell, even people up in Nebraska, they drink while they hunt, dove hunt, obviously. But I mean, when you're running a professional operation, there's just no room for it.
Logan, do you have any other questions?
Nothing, I'm tapped out.
I got a question for you guys. Sorry, Garrett. I'll put you on the spot. What do you guys see the most? Obviously, you guys talk to a lot of outfitters. What do you guys see the most that makes you think like this is where we need to step up?
So for outfitters stepping up for clients?
Yeah. So like when you look at outfitters, obviously you guys deal with all the reviews. You guys get all the reviews from clients and stuff like that. If there's an issue, they're going to tell you about it.
I'll speak from more in the field experience. And I'm sure Logan has that, but also he gets to hear more about some of the customer support stuff. So I would say the biggest thing for me is the attitude that I see that guides carry. Like if a hunt isn't going well, they do what you were saying not to do, and they get down on themselves and they kind of hide instead of like resolving the problem. And they kind of like, especially if it's the first group or the first day, they'll almost write off the entire hunt with those clients because the clients aren't happy. Instead of them going over there and talking to them and getting them excited and like trying to make like a rebound from this, like what y'all do with clients, they'll hide, they write off the clients. They're like, oh, these dudes will be gone in 2 days, 2 more hunts I got to get through with these guys, and then they're gone. And so they just kind of write them off when there's that. And especially like if there's bad weather going on, like things that they can't control, but they can control their effort. They don't control the controllable and they blame it on the weather, something they can't control. And it just pisses the clients off. And for me, when I'm the camera guy, especially when I stay at the lodge, the clients will talk directly to me because usually they know like that I work for a company that works for other outfitters and I know other outfitters and get to travel. And they'll be like, man, like there was one I was in Utah, the outfitter doesn't exist anymore. And that was that. The clients will come to your cameraman and be like, yo, is this how this usually is or whatever it is? And if it's my first time there, I have no clue what to tell them. I'm like, I don't know. And then they'll ask me who else they should go hunt with. And I'm at a loss of words for those people. But I've seen some pretty crappy stuff in the field be done. And it's surprising when I have a camera, the things they're willing to do right in front of it. I've been in a vehicle in North Dakota and the clients weren't killing pheasants. And so the guide decided, hey, and again, he's not a guide. He actually got arrested, but he put clients in the back seat with the windows down and he trespassed driving through people's property and let them shoot pheasants out of the vehicle while we were going like 50 miles an hour. And I had a camera while I was sitting in the back seat and I was stuck in it. I didn't know we were going to do that. And that's what he did to try to make the clients happy. So I've seen some crazy stuff. But I'd say the number one's attitude.
Yeah. So I've got 3. One is before the hunt is even honestly close to starting. And that is a breakdown of communication between the outfitter and the customer post booking, right? When the customer does not feel like the outfitter is doing their job, which is to like reach out and make sure that they know everything about the hunt and getting on top of that right away and kind of just letting the hunt approach and then, potentially waiting till the last minute to reach out to like give instructions on how to get into the lodge and those different things. That communication breakdown is the number one thing I see customers complain about. Right? They will rate Mallard Bay 0 and write that in, and they'll explain what happened. So that's what I see. Number one. What I've seen personally that bothers me in the blind is kind of, to your point, Garrett, the lack of trying, but lack of making adjustments, like in trying different things in the blind. Like, I know that it's not always easy to go out and move around decoys and stuff like that, but the customers want to see you trying different things. And the moment you kind of like shut down as a guide and don't like try something new, even if you know that it might not work, right? Even as a guide, you might just be like, okay, it's the web.
Do it.
Yeah, just do it anyway.
Just do it.
And so that's pretty tough. And then another thing that I've seen and heard of a pretty good bit from customer feedback is when you're in there for a 3-day hunt, you as the outfitter, your only goal is to get them one banger hunt, and then you save the feeds that you have and you could put those guys on. Like, you could have 2-3 banger hunts in a row, but they have that scarcity mindset of like, what if we don't find something for the next group? Or that next group is quote unquote more important or paid more money or is a bigger client, and therefore you save those feeds for the next clients. That to me pisses me off a lot more than mainly the other two things, because they pay money to be there. Like, you better put them on the best option you have that day, that next hunt. Or else what are you doing? Right? Like, it's very, like, imagine trying to explain that to client, and it's something that they do behind the client's back. And if that client, and we've seen situations where the client has overheard or understood, and like, when you're trying to just move on to the next group while the customers are still there and in the middle of their hunt, you're screwed. Like, it's not good business, right? So that's mine.
Do you guys give feedback to those outfitters? If you see that happening, do you guys say something when you're on those trips?
Yep. That is Wyatt's job. Wyatt is the best at it. I mean, you understand what it's like when a customer comes in and complains to us, and then, we, there's 3 sides to every story, right? I mean, look, shit happens, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes customers trying to get their money back, and they may be disingenuous, and sometimes the outfitter really did screw up, and, tried our best to standardize a feedback loop of addressing those tough conversations one-to-one, of Wyatt calling the outfitter and being like, this is what I heard. This is why the customer's unhappy. What can you do to make it right? Because at the end of the day, we can't just refund a customer on your behalf without talking to you about it. Like, we can't just, it's not easy for us to make that customer happy after the fact, because they're already mad, right? So there's only so much you can do. And you know about that. Like, it happens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, like, we're not perfect. We will never please everybody. And all I can think about is that one conversation that you guys were a part of with me and with the one client. And all I can think about is the exact conversation. It was, Mel, man, sorry the hunt didn't go the way you wanted, but we all feel differently about it. We all feel like we did fine. And that was just basically that. And that just sticks out to me so much, because it's like, right, there's three sides to every story, and you just truly never know until you talk to everybody. Do you guys get, like, if you call an outfitter and you're saying, hey, this is the problem, this is what I heard, do you guys get like tonnage, almost like an attitude back from them sometimes? Is that something, or are they more like understanding and wanting to learn from the feedback rather than just like, fuck these guys, whatever kind of thing?
It can go both ways, man. Honestly, like, it goes both ways. It depends on the person, right? It depends on what their experience level is, how cocky they are. Are they willing to admit where they were wrong? Do we actually have proof of what went wrong?
That too,
and have evidence, right? Because we have what we call our vetting council, right? And so the vetting council basically is the account managers that have outfitters that have had customers, basically outline these outline the problems, right? The account manager has to bring evidence to those calls, and we talk about those outfitters, and then we decide, okay, is it a conversation? Do we need to potentially take them off the platform? And that's something that took us a while to figure out, but it's become the best process we can do. Is, of course we don't want to have to fire customers, but we will, because that reflects badly on us, especially when it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah.
And in first instance, it is addressed. Like, there's no just like, okay, we'll wait. like maybe would do 3 strikes, right? It's like, no. Like they're going to have at least a conversation of why this does not fly with us as, our customers.
Yeah. No, that makes plenty of sense. Yeah, I was wondering because like feedback is the best way to learn. Like,
right.
Granted, we haven't got many calls. We've got a couple. I remember we got 1 or 2 calls. I think we got like 2 calls last year from, well, I don't even think it was, might have been Wyatt. I don't know, about some issues that we had. And they were great learning experiences. Granted, did we agree with the complaint? No, both times. No, we did not. But we were able to learn from it and go, okay, well, you know what? This time we will make this change and do this differently so we don't have this happen again. And, it's important to have that feedback, and it's important to, kind of in the other way, just take it on the chin and learn from it. It's like, that's something that I feel like I see a lot of. It's like, it's my way or the highway kind of thing you see with some companies, and not just outfitters, some companies. It's like, I'm doing it this way, and this is how it's going to happen, and this is it. And obviously they don't do as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's like the outcome that's going to happen is like someone like you, Hunter, who's willing to sit there and listen and learn, even if you're not necessarily in the wrong or anything like that, but you're at least willing to, you're humble enough to sit there and listen, not get an attitude, not be cocky. Hunter, before we wrap this up, I wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe like give quick one-liner kind of advice towards an outfitter who's looking to improve their client experience, what they should do.
One-liner.
It doesn't have to be one line, just
I would say
summary.
a brief one. I'd be pretty brief. I would just literally, I'd say, look within your company, like look within yourself, and make sure you are controlling everything you can control to the best and highest degree. If you're doing that, if you're able to do that, the pieces will fall.
100%. I like it. All right. Well, cool, guys. I appreciate everyone listening to the podcast. And if you've stuck around this long, I'd also appreciate it if you enjoyed this podcast, sharing it with other people who you think this would help running their outfit or maybe even their charter. Share that, like and subscribe, whatever you need to do on your platform. And just remember to control the controllables. Until next time, guys, we'll see you on GuideTech Podcast.